The BlokeBusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fantastic podcasts, such as Pencil and Ink Review, Another Damn Trivia Show, and Language of Bromance at podbros.com, as well as on most other fine podcasting services. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to share and enjoy the BlokeBusters podcast.
Welcome to episode 83 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian.
And today we're going to be talking about a series of unfortunate events. And two things, first and foremost. Number one, do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at BlokeBusters. We have an email, blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com, and we have a website, blokebusters.webs.com. It is mostly up to date, and I do try and keep that as up to date as possible, but I'm busy, and and Brian doesn't have a laptop, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
And
good excuse, weak excuse, but there we are.
And number two is you may hear from time to time, if we continue in this episode, another voice, because
let's hope so.
Yeah, I know. And basically, myself and Brian, when picking these, we typically pick them, and then we don't talk about it, and we hit record, and that's the first time we talked about it. And that's not the case with this one, because we started talking about this after watching it, and then we realized, oh, we're going to review this. So
yeah, cat's a little out of the bag on this one.
Yeah, so what we did was we found someone who was willing to come on our show and talk about stuff, and we thought, hey, why not make it this one? So with us today is B-Rob himself from the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well.
Better than the Baudelaires, we hope.
Let's hope we're all doing better than them. Yeah.
Alright, so the way we're going to kind of handle this one is we're going to briefly talk about the Jim Carrey film from several years ago, because Brian has not seen it, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, no judgment passed on that, just a fact, right?
Yes, for those of you who are wondering, well, are they going to talk about the books?
Nope.
No, because none of us have read
Readings for chumps.
Yes.
I'm 17. What's all this book stuff?
Yes, it is an unfortunate lapse on my part, because after seeing the film and then seeing the series, I feel like I might enjoy the book. So I think it's something I will end up eventually reading or listening to, because as we found out today, it is read by the wonderful Tim Curry. Now, we're not sure how he reads it as. Is it just going to be Tim Curry as Frankenfurter? Is it going to be...
Oh, it's Pennywise. Let's hope it's Pennywise.
It's going to be Pennywise. Every now and again, he just busts out and... But, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to listen to, especially after we got, obviously, Patrick Warburton in the series as Lemony Snicket. So it'll be a very interesting transition there. Fine.
Absolutely.
But... yes.
Until then,
He kind of sounded like Bill Nye to me, with his tone and everything. Not Bill Nye, Bill, or whatever the fuck his name. Ben Stein.
That's, wait, the science guy or the? Oh, okay, yeah, you got it. The Nixon advisor. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Clear eyes.
Bueller. Yeah.
All right, so moving on from that then.
Yeah.
So yes, very briefly talk about the Jim Carrey film. Jim Carrey and Jude Law are respectively Count Olaf and Lemony Snicket in those films. And when I first saw it, I did think it was not too bad. Again, haven't read the books, so I didn't have anything to go off of. And now I think I can understand why there were people who had some complaints about it when it came out. So, but yes, I thought that Jim Carrey was actually not too bad as Count Olaf. What about you, Rob? What did you think of the film?
Well, see, that's the thing with me because like I watched the series first before I went back and watched the movie, so it's like this kind of sucks.
All right, well, you sold it on me to not watch this.
It was an okay movie. It was a good watch, whatever. But I was spoiled on the stylings of Neil Patrick Harris.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, and the film covers the first 3 books and comes in at just under 2 hours, and it does jump about a bit because you have what happens in the first book, then the second book, then the third book, and then it goes back to the first book again, and they finish with the marvelous marriage. So it does kind of jump around, and I still maintain that Jim Carrey wasn't bad as Count Olaf. He just
from the character and from what it does seem like that would be a decent fit. Not having seen it,
yes, I just feel that as we'll get into, I believe Neil Patrick Harris has the win on that one.
He is the ledger to Joker's or Nicholson's Joker.
Yes, yes. Let's
is that a Naps comparison?
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, with that very, very, very quick, just like. Well, the film wasn't too bad if you haven't read the books or seen the TV series.
A general acknowledgement of its existence.
Yes, the film exists, and moving on. So, yes, and one more thing. I didn't mind the people playing the orphans, and I wouldn't have minded seeing more of it at the time, but a couple of years went by, they still hadn't picked up a possible sequel, at which point the people playing the orphans would have been too old, so I knew it was never going to happen. And now we have the Netflix series, which is picking up the first 4 books, and for those of you who have already watched the Netflix series and don't know that they are definitely doing it, yes, they're definitely doing the rest of the books. They're going to be doing a second season of the next 5 books, and then a third season of the last 4 books. So there will be plenty more from the Baudelaires and Olaf.
And just a quick, real quick disclaimer. If you have not gotten to this yet in your streaming queue, if you have higher priorities, we will be discussing spoilers, key plot elements. So if that's going to run it for you, hold off until you've seen the thing.
Yes.
So, yeah. Just got that out of the way. You've been warned.
Yes, definitely. You have been warned about as much as they try and warn you in the opening credits.
To not even watch it.
I was just like, this is not good marketing, fellas.
Yeah. I mean, it's some reverse psychology bullshit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess we'll have to start with that. With the opening of the show. It's a good place to start. Yeah. Is that opening for every show? There's spoilers in the opening, not enough to really spoil you if you haven't seen the show, but enough that they're trying to say, look, here's what happened, don't watch. We don't want you to watch this. And fantastic reverse psychology. It just makes you go, no, I'm going to watch this now. And wonderfully sung. The Look Away theme song by Neil Patrick Harris. Yes.
What I noticed about the theme song from episode to episode, it varied depending on what was going on in the story.
It does.
I love that about it. Yeah.
And my favorite thing that happens, I haven't had the chance to rewatch episode 8, which being the last episode in the current series, and I wish I had, because episode 2, episode 4, and episode 6. The theme song, part of it is sung, all of it is sung by Neil Patrick Harris, but part of it, the bit which has the spoilers, is then sung in whatever character Olaf is portraying in that show. So you have, obviously, him closer to his Olaf voice in episode 2. You have him singing as Stefano in episode 4, and then you have him as Captain Sham in episode 6. And I wish I had rewatched at least the opening of episode 8 because then he would be playing a woman. So is he going to have the high pitched voice? I don't recall.
I don't recall.
So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a wonderful start to the show, I think. So where should we jump to first then? Shall we start with Lemony Snicket, or shall we move into the Baudelaires and?
I think I don't know. My vote's Lemony.
Lemony,
but this is, there's three of us here, so
yes.
I'm willing to.
How about you then, Rob? Shall we start with Lemony, or shall we go with Olaf first?
My eyes have it. We go with Mr. Snickets.
All right, Mr. Snicket, yes. For those of you that are unaware, Lemony Snicket is the author of the books, in as much as it's the pen name of the author of the books, a guy called Daniel Handler, who is actually in the series at one point as the seller of the fish heads.
Correct. Yes.
In episode 6, I believe. And so, yes, it's a wonderful thing that he does because whenever the new book would come out, Lemony Snicket would be booked at these places to come and give a talk about the book. And then Daniel Handler would turn up as his agent, basically saying Lemony Snicket was unable to attend due to a bee sting or something like that. Where it's
brilliant
just
marketing.
Yeah,
It was a series of unfortunate events.
It was indeed, yes. And the reason that this series of books exists is because he was told, basically, that he should write a series of kids' books. And his response to that was, well, I don't really want to do it, so I'm just going to write about horrible things happening to children. No one's going to read that. And turns out a lot of people wanted to read that. So
a lot of people like reading about horrible shit.
Yes, he wrote himself into a corner there.
I understand that books can have the ability to explain stories in a great detail or whatever. I think in some effect the movie did that, but the TV show was able to kind of expand upon what the movie couldn't do. I'm just kind of wondering what were the books like then, because you can go in the very grave detail if you wanted to about the events unfolding against the children, or because dude pulled out a knife. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do believe it's I believe it's young adult is technically where it falls. I believe I'm willing to be corrected in that, but I believe that's technically where the thing falls, and I don't think obviously it goes into stabbings and things like that. But I've based on what I've heard from people that have read the books and like the series, that it is very true to the books. So I feel that reading the books is probably going to be kind of the same as what's in the series in that respect.
Yeah, I recommended them to my sister for her kids, and then I thought, oh, wait, what have I done? I'm like, wait, are they old enough? I knew the one was definitely old enough. But her sister is like 9. And I'm like, okay, we have domestic violence. We have chasing around with knives.
My 3-month-old daughter watched with me in the morning.
Oh, well, if it's fine for her, then I guess we're good. Yeah.
Yes,
like the violence and everything. Like when you slapped old boy across the face, just like, I was shocked. I was just like, man, you don't really see stuff like that no more on TV.
Exactly. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Pardon the expression, pulled no punches. But it's
well, I mean, it wasn't a full-on punch to the nose, so there was no blood per se, and it was definitely an effective way of getting across.
And, sorry to jump ahead, but can we talk about Mr. Poe's complete disregard of that claim? He, assaulted my brother. Whatever. Yeah.
Yes, far be it from you to criticize parenting styles.
Yes, I'm sorry you've had to do chores now, you rich brats. Yeah.
But yes, we're slightly off track. Lemony Snicket.
Yeah.
Yes. So Patrick.
Oh my God.
Portrays Lemony Snicket.
I will be the first to admit, I like some Patrick Warburton. I'm a Seinfeld fan, so I loved him obviously from that show as initially Jerry's mechanic, and then later as Buddy. And then of course everyone's favorite wheelchair neighbor, and Joe Swanson. Sorry for that to be the identifier. Yeah. Former cop or cop. How about that? But this, I don't know. He reached a new level for me here.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if I wasn't giving him enough credit. I thought he is utterly fantastic. Like, I knew, we'll get to NPH. I knew he would be great. I was not expecting Patrick Warburton to be as good as he was in this.
Yeah. When I saw the first trailer, I was saying to Brian before we recorded here, I saw the very first teaser trailer, and it was Patrick Warburton saying Netflix had, for whatever reason, decided to make a story about the Baudelaires. Like, don't watch it, please. Like, tell them not to do it. And it wasn't until I saw the first proper trailer and saw the first episode that I realized, oh, that was Lemony Snicket saying that. That wasn't Patrick Warburton saying that. And then, as it went on, it was just the cadence as he's just talking to you, and the way that they just have him pop up, like, in whatever scene it is. Like, there's one where they're on the beach and he's there in almost Dick Van Dyke from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Victorian style swimwear, as he's giving the sort of fourth wall break narration of the show, and it was so well done. I am such a huge fan of Warburton as Lemony Snicket now.
Yeah, he captures the tone so perfectly of the show. Yeah. So I don't know your thoughts on that, B-Rob.
Yeah, I believe he was a good choice. I knew nothing about the television series. I knew there was a movie way back whenever it came out. I really didn't see it then because, it was Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey. I was just like, I'll catch it whenever I catch it. And that happened to wind up being a couple days ago. Exactly what you said. His tone and just the way he, presented the story, it had me hooked. And I can't really see anybody else other than him now, playing that role.
And that what you said right there is like a telltale sign of good casting. It's like when you can't imagine someone else in that role now.
Yeah.
Like it would be ruined for you if you pictured anyone else in it. That's good casting.
Unless it was Morgan Freeman.
There you go. Okay, yes. Trump card, Morgan Freeman. You got me there.
Maybe at some point you could have Morgan Freeman turn up as Lemony's brother or something.
Get busy struggling. Get busy.
They replaced for Mr. Poe.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, too much gravitas for Mr. Poe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't buy him as being that incompetent and stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, so
just get in the car, children.
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you should
come along, Miss Daisy.
Re-record every single line as Morgan Freeman.
Oh, please, yeah.
All right, so obviously they're covering Mr. Patrick Warburton as the wonderful Lemony Snicket, and now the other.
It's the Count. It's the Count.
Yes.
It's the Count.
Just count. A fantastic song. So good. Yes, anyway.
Anyway, it's the Count.
Yes, the Count himself, Count Olaf, played by Neil Patrick Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but we apologise if the next half hour is us just talking about Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf. But so well done. There's so many things about this role, this character, that is wonderful to watch, even though it's horrible to watch. You've got this guy who, by all accounts, is a horrible actor who believes himself to be a fantastic actor, and played by a fantastic actor, and then it's really strange. As you see the thing go on, he is a horrible actor, but is fantastic at coming up with characters, even though those characters are stupid.
Yeah, he needs to be like story by Count Olaf, not in the production. Yeah.
Yes, yes, not story by Al von Coot. It's got to be Count Olaf. Which, little side note, it was in the trivia on IMDb, and those of you who are fans of the series will be very well versed in this. Every single episode, there is a character or a name that has a anagram of Count Olaf as a thing. So, the Marvelous Marriage in the first book is by Al von Coot, being Count Olaf. The Nurse Lucafont in the Reptile Room, Part 2, again, Count Olaf. I cannot remember the one in number 3.
Oh yeah, with Aunt Josephine.
I mean, it's not Captain Sham.
No, that does not work out. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we might need to kind of break this up into Count Olaf and then each of his disguises here, because there's so much to talk about. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Rob, why don't you kick it off? What's your favorite like Count Olaf bit?
Shit. Let's see. I think it was just weird seeing them as the female.
Yes. Very true.
With Catherine O'Hara, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Kevin McAllister's mother.
Yes.
Which, oddly enough, she was the judge in the movie.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. It's very
mind blown.
I know it was strange rewatching it the second time, just going through, and I was thinking back to the film. I was like, oh yeah, it's so weird that they brought her back to do a different character for the series, but it's still fun to see all these people in it.
I think Stefano was probably the best out of the ones we've seen.
That is the correct answer. Okay, you nailed it. I told Paul that before we started today. Yeah. My favorite.
At the very least, I think I prefer seeing him as Captain Sham, but I do think he was fantastic as Stefano. And at the very least, it has my favorite line, not only in the series, but also my favorite meta joke that I have ever seen, which is that when they're trying to get them to go to the movies, and he utters the phrase, "I prefer long-form television to the movies. It's so much more convenient to consume entertainment from the comfort of your own home."
Mugs the camera.
With a mug to camera and a smile. And then
later has a one-sided phone conversation. Yeah, yes, I told him it's much more comfortable to consume entertainment.
Not even 2 minutes later, that phone call occurs. Yes, of course, it's much more convenient.
Yes, I tried to tell them that. Yeah.
This show, I know Olaf had a large number of them, but just all of the nods to camera, the one where Monty, for instance, at the end of episode 3, is saying, "We are not going to be spending the season in some laboratory. We're going to Peru." Or Mr. Poe, right at the end of the series, when he drops them off at their final destination for the series, and he says, the season is almost over. Semester.
Yeah. What was it like the episode 3? It's like the new episode. This is a new episode in your life.
New episode in your life, right at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. That was a note I had earlier. Like, just the writing is just so clever.
On point. So on point.
Consistently clever and on point.
That's, aping that line again, is much better having them do it this way in a long format. Because, you have the ability to break down those stories even further within the overarching story.
Yeah, it's so much better than if they just made a film out of each one. Like, just having this style done. And I looked it up before we were recording here. I told Brian about it. There's even there's meta jokes that you don't even realize are meta jokes if you don't know certain things. For instance, we'd never read the books, but in the fourth book, it is Mr. Poe that takes the children to Lucky Smells. And in the series, they go off themselves. And so at the beginning of the episode, when he's looking for them, he's like, it's a catastrophe, it's a disaster, it's off book. It's like, you don't realize it unless you know that. And then if you know that, it's just a fantastic throwaway line. And it definitely, I think, my second favorite thing in the entire series is all of those meta things that occur.
Multiple layers to enjoy it on. Yeah.
All right. So, what did you guys think of the people playing the Baudelaires? I mean, obviously, Sonny. There's not much to really go there. It's either a baby or a CG baby. There's no
CG head floating around.
I feel she really chewed up the scenery.
Definitely.
You know. Thank you.
I'm not even gonna waste my time finding the actual sound effect.
No, it didn't deserve that.
But so I have seen the actress that plays Violet. Once before, because for an episode of a podcast called Solid Western Cinema that is not coming out because the audio was messed up, I had to watch the film Nine Lives. Which is the Kevin Spacey film where he turns into a cat.
That whole shtick.
Again, was for a podcast that reviews horrible films, and they just decided not to release this episode, so I watched a horrible film for nothing.
Well, you got something out of it, I'm sure.
Well, on top of that, I had to watch it twice because the note-taking thing on my phone deleted itself. So yes,
but it was kind of Spacey as a cat.
The actress that plays Violet is the daughter in Nine Lives. So I was seeing her in that, and upon realizing that was her before I saw the show, I was like, okay, I'm not going to judge her based solely on the one film I've seen her in. You take whatever you can get when it comes to starting in the acting profession. And I don't know if it's because of that, but seeing her in this and it just being so much better than Nine Lives, I felt she was a really good Violet, and I genuinely don't know if it would be her or Emily Browning that I prefer more. Because I did think Emily Browning was alright as Violet in the film, but the Violet in this, it's so much more fleshed out that obviously I'm drawn more towards the TV version of it. So, well, Brian, not having seen the film,
I can't really compare and contrast. I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah,
for such a young person, I thought. I mean, sometimes you have to suffer through some pretty bad child acting and stuff, and I thought she carried every scene very well. I never had any issues with her.
I'm not saying I had any issues with her. It's just like Emily Browning in the film, I thought was the best out of her and Klaus in the film. She was better. So that was my kind of comparison point when it came to the series, and I feel that Violet in the series was a bit better, but they were both very good. Now, when it comes to Klaus, the Klaus in the TV series is way better.
Okay. Like I said, once again, can't speak to that, so you guys are on your own there. But
just saying, like watching the TV show for the first time and going back to watch the movie for the first time, it just everything, the characters in the movies just seemed off to me after watching the TV show.
Yeah, and even you had Timothy Spall playing Mr. Poe in the film, and he is a little bit moronic, but it's nowhere near the level of Mr. Poe from the series.
Oh, they step up the incompetence quite a bit?
Yeah, okay. And it's not even like IQ points or anything. It's just complete naivete as a character.
It's just lost in his own world.
Yeah. My favorite thing about the whole thing as well is that he's a banker.
Yes, so what the hell?
Why is he in charge of these orphans? Why is this his job
Is there some...
now?
Yeah, some sort of procedure I'm not aware of, where bankers are going to be in charge of placing orphans.
Yeah. And what was it? One of those in was it in The Wide Window where it's of course I'll tell them. Oh, I'll tell them. Yes. What did he say? He said we can always come to him for help at Monterey Money Management. So, no, you can't.
His level of stupidity just gets him. Frankly, frustrating.
Yeah, because it was like they ramped it up to like 20 on the TV show in comparison to the movie. It was just like little, all right, whatever in the movie, but on the TV show he was just like dum.
Very much so. Now, one thing I wanted to get your take on was actually like when it comes to ending a series like this, and it's like, okay, how are we going to end it? Is it going to be they get to this point in the book and then it's just like hard cut? Nope, not for this series. You have a wonderful last little song that they do, which has all of the characters singing about this tale being all sorrows and woes. Like I had that song in my head for a week.
Yes, because you had told me about it. Yeah, having it in your head for that long. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a show round everything off so well. Like it, the story's not finished.
No,
but they were just able to give you such a well-rounded end to a series that's going to continue whenever it is. So it's, like I don't know. Can either of you think of any other show that did so well, just like giving you a in quotes satisfactory ending?
Westworld.
Okay.
Are you going theme song or? Yeah.
I mean, like just the way that they chose to end that, where it is just going to every like every character that's really still in it, and
yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of Breaking Bad, how that Baby Blue song just perfectly
true
ended Walter White's journey.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that was popping in my head.
And think about it. We have now just put the ending, like the way that they've been able to satisfactorily end the series, with Westworld and Breaking Bad.
Absolutely.
Like that, I really do feel like this whole series is kind of on par with some of those.
Going with great finales, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I can't not talk about this anymore.
Boy, I'm intrigued.
My favorite thing in the entire series, and it was such a joy to rewatch because of it, is the misdirect with the parents. My God.
Okay, wait. We already talked about spoilers. Okay, yep. All right. So.
That was phenomenal.
And just for people's reference, Paul's very astute at picking up kind of what's going on in a show, much more so than I am, or I think the average viewer, and can kind of pick up how narratives are going to fall. And so when he told me he was caught off by this, I knew it was well done.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. I found myself doing the same thing with Westworld and everything. It's kind of like me and my wife was watching the whole series yesterday, and every time I would pick up on something, I was like, oh, I wouldn't try to spoil it for her, but I'd be like, oh, I know what's about to happen. And then, sure enough, it would happen. But the whole thing with the parents and everything, I was just like, well, what the fuck?
That is the correct response. Yes, once again, what the fuck?
So, yeah.
And then the way it was done and everything, and how it showed, with the finale and everything, it didn't only happen to the Baudelaires, it happened to this other family as well.
Yeah, for those of you that, for whatever reason, are listening to this, haven't watched the show, but are still reaching this bit yet. So, you know that the Baudelaire's parents have died in a fire, or perished in a fire. And,
I know what perished means.
Yes, we all know what perished means. And so, we keep cutting back to a woman and a man who are very clearly married, especially as they even specifically reference their honeymoon at the, I believe it's during the 4th episode. I'm not 100% sure now, but if it's not jumping into your head, it's in the 4th episode because you were just watching the 3rd.
Yep.
And they keep talking about how the children must be so scared, and there's one point where the mother is reading a newspaper with the Baudelaire fire having happened, and there's a point in the 6th episode when the house is going over the cliff and they find the picture and they're saying, oh look, there's Monty, there's this person, and there's our parents, and it zooms in on a close-up of 4 people, 2 of whom are the parents we've been seeing throughout the show, and that it is just building and building and building to just such an anticlimax. It's just it's so great when they're like, okay, we're home. There are the really fancy doors at the Lucky Smells Mill, and it opens up, and it is this other family that they have come home to, and I mean, floored is not the right word, but I was in such awe of how they put this all together. Like, all the nods, all of the little coincidences and stuff that they worked into it that you just don't think about. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I can go any further than that. It was so well done. Brian, you look like you wanted to say something there.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I'm sorry. Then we'll get to you, Rob. But episode 2, I did have a bit of an. I don't know. Maybe explain this to me because like I said, you're a more astute viewer. But towards the end of that episode, after Konolov's plot has been revealed with the marriage, we see Will Arnett, the dad, holding up a newspaper. Which I don't know who's getting them the newspapers, but
yeah, they're in the jail, whatever.
Yeah, but apparently they're allowed to get the Times or whatever. Yeah. So he holds up a newspaper, and it's the cover, story is the orphans being rescued at the theater, theater rescue of orphans, whatever. And he says the children are still in danger. Mm-hmm. There's something of that effect. If those aren't his kids, how does that line make any sense?
Well, the 2 things I took from it upon watching it,
because who calls the children if it's not their children?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The 2 things I took away from it upon second watching, aside from just how well set up it was, is number 1, he's not showing the paper to her. He's looking at the paper. So, despite the fact that the front of the paper says Baudelaire or whatever, he isn't necessarily talking about that.
So he's internalizing it to their family.
Yeah, like he is thinking, like, the children, being our children, are still in danger. Like, we members of the VFD,
the Baudelaires.
Exactly. Like, that's the setup for that.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that, Rob?
I didn't know. My brain could not compute once it was all revealed at the end. It was just like, I was like, did they lead a double life? Did they have 2 sets of kids? What the?
Secret family, something like that.
Yeah, for people like wondering about that, I do know that the children that they end up going back to, they are a similar set of orphans in a similar predicament now to the Baudelaires because of things that are going on with the VFD. And that's another thing I will say. The only reason I know about the VFD is because I did a little bit of looking into the series after I watched the Jim Carrey film. So I know what the VFD is and how some of the characters play into that because of something I looked up 13 years ago, apparently, since that's how long ago the film came out. So, yeah, I really enjoyed, like, now that I know some of, but I've obviously not having read the books, I don't know a huge amount of what that is. I love that they haven't gone into it very much. Like, you are in the same boat, for the most part, as the Baudelaires in how much you know about this world that they're stuck in. and I feel that they've handled that really well.
Into the movie, how they upgraded a lot of the things and everything, because that spyglass in the movie looked whack as hell.
Yes,
I'll take your word for it. Okay, I'll take your word for it too.
I mean, it was. In fact, I think isn't it in the film? Isn't it a complete spyglass?
Yeah, it's like it's not in detail like how the one in the TV show is, where it had the little nose.
It's not a cryptex.
No, it is. Yeah. It's just a telescope. Actually.
Just smooth telescope.
Yep. And I think the only time it ever comes into play is right at the end when he's looking out on the stage and he realizes that the eyeglass in front of him is the. Okay, I'm not going to go any further than that for people that don't know more about it. I just realized I was about to spoil something that wasn't in the series.
Oh,
that might be fun. So yeah,
good catch.
Thinking about that now, the spyglass or the eye from the end of the film, the Jim Carrey film, is from further down the line in the books. So, yeah, I'm really glad I know a bit more about the series than I.
Let me say, I have no idea what's going on, but
it's
you seem to be content.
Yeah, there's something in the film that for people that have seen the show and are thinking about seeing the film but haven't seen the film yet, don't do it. is what I'm now going to tell you, because I just realized that there's something in the film that will spoil something further down the line in the series. So, yeah, it's it's something that is inferred, but is never it's not pointed at directly. So it's an additional extra.
And then I was so in love with the television series that when it got to the movie, I was just kind of like, all right, why is this shit not over yet? I turned my brain off to a lot of what was going on in it, but I was like, oh, okay.
Credits. Confirmed for me, I'm never watching that. Once you've seen the superior product, why go back?
Now, the only thing I will say, we can probably jump to the guest actors now, but I will admit that due to my fandom of Billy Connolly, I really enjoyed the Monty in the film because it's portrayed by Billy Connolly. Whereas, before we go into it then, who's your favourite extra Guardian then? You've got Monty.
Are you asking me?
Well, both of you. You've got Monty and you got Josephine.
Oh, I don't... That is such a tough call because I love Asif Manvi. But I'm sorry. I think I gotta go with Josephine. Sorry if is it Alfre? Alfre Woodard is utterly fantastic. And I mean, she is holding it down at what is she, 64? She is holding it down, and she is looking good, and she is amazing. I don't know. I loved her in this. I think she was so good. It was so great casting.
I
think he was a good character in the TV series, and but out of the two in the TV series, I think I connected more with Monty over Aunt Josephine, because whenever she died or whatever, I was like, golly, that annoying motherfucker is gone. So, Monty died. Oh no, it's so sad.
Yeah, that was to me, that's kind of part of Josephine that is quite nice. She is someone who was a part of this organization and was such a great person and is now withdrawn and is now obsessed with the English language. Absolutely obsessed. So it was kind of nice that they were replaced with someone that had this quirk, shall we say. Mm-hmm. And I did like how it still came back right at the end, right before her demise, for the there's something I should have told you a long time ago. Let's have what? You should have said.
Oh yeah. I love that.
Let's just do a standoff or whatever, character to character or whatever. All the characters that Jim Carrey played in the movie, well, from what you can talk about. I know he didn't see the movie.
Yeah.
I believe the Stefano. I think I like the Jim Carrey Stefano a little bit better than the Neil Patrick Harris Stefano. Just a little, not a lot.
You know, I can see what you mean by that, just because the Stefano in the series is such a character, whereas in the film, it's more obviously Olaf. So you get more of the hopelessness of the Baudelaires are so desperately trying to get across, like, this is an act. This is not this person, and it's a little bit more believable in the way that he's able to stop them from telling Monty who he is, whereas in the series they are very much just like, it never seems to come up, like, which is one thing I didn't fully understand about the Baudelaires with Monty in the show, is that they never said, and even Lemony Snicket says, Klaus is kicking himself over the number of times he should have said, this man is Olaf. Like, why did they never say?
Why did they? Yeah, exactly. Why? Okay. Yeah.
Especially since Monty...
The thought didn't occur to you?
Yeah, Monty seemed to be much more on their side and be willing to listen to what they were saying. So why did they never do that with the only adult that would say it? But yeah, I can see your argument for Stefano from the film being a bit better, but with regards to Captain Sham, I believe that Neil Patrick Harris has the win on that one, even though I do think that he used Jim Carrey's Captain Sham as kind of a guideline.
Kind of a template.
Yeah. So
they were similar in certain aspects or whatever, but I think Neil Patrick Harris did a better job with it.
Yeah, my wife actually, when I was rewatching it, she was saying, is he just imitating Jim Carrey doing the same character? And I did think, like, there's only so many bad actor trying to be a pirate voices that you can come across, and so of course they've gone with the most
you're gonna
obvious.
make that parallel either way.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it, but just the way that Neil Patrick Harris portrays Olaf, like with all the, my home is the sea. Oh, do you not live around here then? It's like, large lake.
Multiple times. Large lake, yeah.
Yeah, and the way that he's just so... He clearly has no filter. Like, he has no, hang on, what was my thing? It was like, even when he's talking to Poe, when he's Jessica haircut, it's like, wait, that is like, I'm as certain as I am that my name is whatever it is I told you it was.
That's so weird. I have an appointment for a haircut.
Yes.
Even with the side characters and everything, like all his henchmen, in comparison to the movie, I think with having the TV series format or whatever, it was good to even get into the villains more than they did in the movie. They were just kind of there in the movie. It wasn't really anything with the plot too much, but they were just kind of there. But as in the TV show, they was like all over the place.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that they clearly were his acting troupe, and then he just is dragging them into the plan once he's got it. So he's like, okay, so now you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And whereas in the film, obviously, for those who haven't seen it, including Brian, they are people that just kind of sit around for the most part. And they are only really featured in, like, whenever they turn up on screen, they're on screen for like 2 minutes. And then they move, like, they go away, and now we're on to the next book. And then they turn up for 2 minutes again. But now you do get, as you said, the fleshed out characters, like the hook hand man, who I think is about on par with Olaf, is how far he's willing to go to mess with these kids. And
like, this is clearly a different man. He has hands.
Yes. Yeah. Look at him. He's trying to eat a can of peaches. But yeah, there's actually, I can only assume in the book it's way more defined. But there is one of the henchmen, who I will very quickly look it up, who plays them. Matti Cardaropol. I believe I'm saying that correctly. He plays the henchperson of indeterminate gender. He is the guy who
The
plays Nurse Lucafont.
Nurse Lucafont, yeah.
So in the books, based on what I've learned from people talking to me about them, like it is never explained whether or not this person is a man or a woman, and there's no way for them to figure it out. Whereas obviously being played by a man in this, but I'm looking forward to seeing how much further they go with it, because there's a lot of frumpy dresses and giant coats, so you never actually get a good look at the body at all. I guess what we're really trying to get across here is just how much fun, and it's weird to say, how much fun it is to watch all of these people play all of these parts in the horrible lives of the Baudelaires. Like, it is genuinely enjoyable to watch these children suffer as much as they do, which is such a strange thing to say. But just all of these people, like Patrick Breen as the waiter at the clown restaurant.
Oh yeah,
just trying to interrupt, be like, yeah, I meant to ask if anyone has any allergies that would cause them to have any problems. Because
them to leave the establishment.
Obviously, Don Johnson as Sir and Rhys Darby as Charles. So just a great little pop up there. Obviously, I haven't watched as much Flight of the Conchords as I should have. And we have seen What We Do in the Shadows, where he pops up as the wonderful leader of the werewolves, not swearwolves. Yes, so it was so fun to just see him there, just being like, "Oh, hi." But yeah, just so many great actors popping up, so many great characters that you see. Joan Cusack.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, how have we not talked about Joan Cusack?
As Justice Strauss. And one of the great things about how they integrate Lemony Snicket with the real world at the end of episode 2, when Klaus gives the argument for how Violet did not legally sign the document, and how Lemony Snicket says he gave it with all the wit of this person and all the, and then it cuts straight back to Justice Strauss saying that argument had all the, and it's the exact same line again.
There's so many instances of that, of the language playing back on itself. Yeah,
and a whole bunch of the set pictures right now is just crazy.
Yeah. How about we'll start with Rob and then we'll go around here. So, if you had to pick one character or role of or whatever, just any one, but who would, what's your standout in the show? Like,
well, other than I'll exclude Neil Patrick Harris and
yeah, I think Lemony and Olaf are out.
Yeah, I think aside from the great the great overacting of Olaf and Lemony Snicket is just fantastic. So yeah, except those two, like, what would be your favorite character in the show?
I got two. I got Monty and Mr. Poe. I like both characters. Monty bit the dust. I was thoroughly upset.
Yeah, I can see that, because and not even as much as, oh no, he died, what's going to happen to Baudelaires? It's just, oh, there's no more Monty.
Yeah, it was really sad because he was such a welcome character. Yeah, and just done in 2 episodes, or an episode and a half.
All right, Brian, do you happen to have any standouts?
Well, I think I know it's late, but I love some Rhys Darby. He's just fantastic. And I think I got to double down on, as much as he annoys the hell out of me, I gotta agree with Rob with Mr. Poe. Yeah. He is so just annoyingly stupid. That is fun to watch.
They never explained the cough, why he was coughing all the time. What I originally thought was, it might have been from him being at the scene where the fire was, and been getting smoke in the lungs and everything, but he remains off through the whole series.
Yep.
Yeah, and me not being familiar with the origin at all of these stories, I thought we would get that trope of seeing some blood on a handkerchief or something. I'm like, oh, he's gonna die in 6 episodes or something. But it's never explained.
Yeah, but someone I used to work with until very recently was a big fan of the book. She did say one of his defining features in the book is the fact he just has this cough. Like, it just throughout the entire book, he's always coughing. Like, all the time said, I do feel there were some times where, and they even allude to it in the 4th episode, where it's like, shall we kill him? I don't know, he's coughing a lot. Let's see if he dies of natural causes. It is quite a bad cough that he's got going on.
Yeah, it's like you should definitely get that checked out if he has it. Yeah.
And yeah, I think I might have to go with Mr. Poe as well, and I'll say Mr. and Mrs. Poe, just as two people. The way he's introduced in the series, where it's just, hello, children, like, it is a nice day.
Your parents are dead. It was a nice day, is what he should say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is. Just continue down that path, the entire shit, and then just the wife just being like, "Yeah, you must miss your parents terribly." Yeah. No, say it.
Say it. Let me hear it. Oh, yeah. That was uncomfortable for me.
I didn't appreciate that too much.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, she's awful. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird, just like, it's an enjoyable. Like, I like hating this woman. She's not even
she's so awful.
in it so much, but she's so great. And the only other one I would say, kind of like standing out as a fantastic character, weaving in and out, and only because I have a theory as to who she ends up being, because there is a based on what little I can remember, there's a character that ends up being somewhat important further down the line, is Mr. Poe's receptionist, who, as it turns out, is a member of the organization, of which very little is known about at this point, and I'm not going into for obvious reasons. But yeah, she. Why am I blanking on her name right now?
Josephine? Or,
no? Not Josephine.
No, I'm sorry. Obviously, that's wrong.
I know, it's Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, thank you. There's too many J's in this. Yeah. 2.
Sarah Chang. Just a wonderful popping in and out character. And, of course, actress, as we see. She is in the Zombies in the Snow.
Yes, as one of the kids from where have I seen her before?
Yeah. Yeah.
No one can remember anybody in this series. Not even the slightest resemblance.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain the guy that's in that, isn't that Gustav as well?
Is it? I don't know.
I think it.
I'm literally by a pond.
I literally do not know. No, if we haven't sold you on this show already,
we're not
number one, you're not going to watch it because we've spoiled the majority of it.
Number 2, you're an awful person.
Yeah, number 2, you're an awful person. And number 3, at the very least, just watch it for the English lesson you end up getting.
Yes, it's great. Yeah, you don't even need to get to Josephine to get some good English lessons.
Tremendous value in itself.
Yeah, and I love how they introduced dramatic irony in episode 3, and then you proceed to see multiple elements of dramatic irony. Exactly. It's just in the plot now.
Yeah. Because it is one of those things where there's a lot of playing with traditional tropes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you started to catch it, because you might not have seen as many of them, but did you notice the overarching story following half of the Lemony Snicket to character thing? Because he's in the room in the hotel the other side of the street from the theatre, and you start to see him packing, and then it ends in the last episode with him leaving through the window as someone breaking down the door.
Yeah.
It's an active investigation he's in the middle of, which is and there's a reason for people trying to break down the door. Again, I'm not going into right now. It's weird. This is a series where I am so invested in not giving potential spoilers for something that isn't out that I'm really censoring what I'm saying right now.
That must be difficult.
Yeah, it's something that I'm so looking forward to seeing this further down the line, and I think it's a certainty that when the next series comes out, we will be talking about it again, because
for sure,
gotta have a follow up to this thing.
Yeah, I just want to see, because the whole time they've been linking Count Olaf to their family and through the organization and everything, with the spyglass, the tattoo, the pictures in the house. He's like, "You're not even in the picture. I was holding the camera."
They're in the piano, yeah. And I was taking the picture, yeah. And the maze, the
maze looks like the
eye with with Jacqueline there as the statue.
And they showed the picture of Lemony Snicket's and Count Olaf in the same picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's the only thing I'll say, because it will definitely come up, and it kind of pops up a little bit in the show, is they are connected through the organization which is known as VFD. And if you actually know that, there are several times in the series where the initials VFD pop up and come into play. Like there's a book that you find, Violet and Sunny find their father's handwriting in the fourth book that we see when they're at the lumber mill and they're looking through the library, and the name of the book has the initials VFD on it. Like it's I can't even remember what it's called, but going down the front, it's very big to VFD. But yeah, I cannot give this show enough praise.
I've turned multiple people onto it, and no one's been disappointed yet.
Yeah, so. And I like, even with all the Marvel stuff that's coming out, I genuinely think this is my favorite Netflix original show.
Original show,
yeah.
More so than Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I enjoy Jessica Jones, as much as I love,
would that be a second or third place? I was just taking a stab at it.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's at number 2, and probably.
Still haven't seen that show.
I would recommend it.
I recommend, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if for nothing else, even if you're not a fan of Marvel, David Tennant as the Purple Man is just beautiful to watch. He is a very good actor. But I was saying Seven Deadly Sins is my number 3 at the moment, because I'm waiting for Attack on Titan to come back. So, that's not for another couple of months, but still, we'll get there. So yeah, I think we can't really go too much more into this without covering our tracks again. So thanks for coming on, Rob, and helping us out with this. It's always great to have someone else's point of view, and to have an additional voice to chime in and give us pause for thoughts. So.
I appreciate you giving me that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
We get tired of just arguing over the same stuff. So.
or
agreeing, as usually is the case. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's welcome to have another point of view.
Yeah, I'm glad you put me onto the TV show, because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, there we go.
Keep spreading the word.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you if they wish to find you?
Yes, please wish to find me. If you have 2 more wishes left after that, I mean, you can wish for more wishes. So you can waste that one wish on me. You can find me on Twitter at itsbrob. That's ITSBROB. I also run a podcast called The Random Ramblings with Rob. You can find all the information on that at randomrobcast.com.
Short and to the point. I
like it. Yeah, efficient. I think I've done that before.
Yes, and I'm not even going to bother with reiterating ours. It was at the front.
At BlokeBusters. Let's cut it there.
Yeah, if you search BlokeBusters, you will find us. So there we go.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks again, Rob, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. And as always, I've been Paul.
I've been Brian.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye.